the SEC is overstepping and they are asking top exchanges to delist every single cryptocurrency except for Bitcoin. We also have news about USDT/Tether. They just gave some more information about their reserves, how much money they're making, maybe some indication then whether they're going to have an issue in the future with some kind of depeg from $1. We also have some other news, including a massive rug pull, something that you have to be careful of. A lot of news here today, and a misleading article that is being pushed out. And I want to make sure that you guys all know some of the top news happening right now. I also want to talk about why I just bought some Bitcoin as well. So a lot to cover. If you don't mind, hit subscribe, turn on the bell notification, stay through to the end of the video. I'm going to try to pump through a lot of this information because there is a lot, and I want you to stay here through to the end of the video. There are links underneath the video in case you want to start trading on margin on Margex, or you want to start up with a stock trading platform. There are a couple underneath the video. Crypto, not doing too much right now, down 0.6%. It's been a quiet time. We know that Coinbase going to have their earnings later this week, so be on the lookout for that. I'll make a video on it. But we have some news. SEC told Coinbase to delist every asset other than Bitcoin. So delist everything, they say. This is what Brian Armstrong is saying, their CEO. They came back to us and they said, we believe every asset other than Bitcoin is a security. And we said, well, how are you coming to that conclusion? Because that's not our interpretation of the law. And they said, we're not going to explain that to you. You need to delist every asset other than Bitcoin. They said basically we had no choice at that point, delisting every other asset besides Bitcoin, which, by the way, is not what the law says, would have essentially meant the end of crypto in the US. So that's where they started to get sued by the SEC. And we know that they were already pushing for them not to stake either. So this gives a little bit more indication as to what was happening. And I don't know how this is going to look in court if it comes up that they were basically just trying to bully them into delisting everything. So SEC overstepping there. However, now the SEC is also suing Richard Heart. A lot of people know who Richard Heart is, but if you don't, he's started basically Hex, PulseChain, and PulseX, raised apparently more than $1 billion in unregistered offer and sale of crypto. So he is now getting sued as well. Going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out, but it could take a while. Now, over the weekend, I talked about this cryptocurrency called Bald, and I said basically you just have to be careful. It went up 30,000x, going from 2,000 up to 70 million over a day. And I said basically there's just a whole ton of manipulation if that's happening, and I would be very careful. Said that literally in yesterday's video, made a video specifically about it, even though I was at our cottage. And I wasn't planning on making a video, but as you can see, apparently it rug pulled and dropped 85%. The person that was adding liquidity had a lot of money that he put into it and then pulled out even more. He made about $5 million, it looks like, and was able to take all the liquidity away, basically causing this thing to die off. That's why I said, hey, be careful. There are going to be people that make a lot of money from this, but there are going to be probably way more people that buy at the top and then lose all their money. So hopefully you watched that video and you did not get rug pulled. So if you like that kind of thing, a friendly reminder not to be too greedy. Hit subscribe underneath the video. Also, I was going to cover this. Uber apparently is going to start accepting Bitcoin payments, says their CEO. However, this is old. This is like a year and a half old. They said one day that they would be taking Bitcoin as payment, but it doesn't sound like there's any news on this. But it was just posted from Bitcoin News today. I've seen this with other accounts too. Maybe they didn't mean to do this, but some just recycle old news. So I've picked that out a couple times in the past. Again, I'll try to give you the real information that's happening in the market so that way you don't get thrown off by news like this, because this isn't really any kind of catalyst. Now, we did get news, though, from Tether. This is actual news. This is the CTO of Tether, and he's basically saying these are their massive results for the quarter. Q2 2023, they had operational profits over $1 billion, basically all from T-bills. You can get 5%, and they have $70 billion of assets under management, basically. That is the market cap. So they're able to get a ton of money from these T-bills. Now, something that's interesting about this, right? If they have everything Let's pull it up here. They have $83 billion. If they put $80 billion in T-bills at 5%, that means that they would get about $4 billion worth of interest throughout the year, which would be $1 billion a quarter. So these numbers make sense. So just as a reminder, kind of how it would break down. They obviously have to have some liquidity on top of that because they don't want to put all their money in T-bills if there's some kind of run on Tether. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have closer to like 60 or $70 billion there, then $20 billion just in cash. They say that they also have excess reserves now of $3.3 billion. So on top of their $83 billion that they have issued, they also have an extra $3.3 billion, which this is not being verified by any kind of company or auditing agency. But if this is true, I think this is pretty positive. It means that they have an additional 4% value on top of their 100% reserves, which just gives them some more cushion and makes them even more resilient, they say. So they have $72.5 billion overall exposure in US T-bills, and the average maturity is less than 90 days. So that does give them, like I said, about $10 billion worth of liquidity in just cash. And then they also have the extra $3.8 billion too. So it's really like $15 billion maybe. And then they're just raking it in on these T-bills. So this is a great business model. Hopefully this continues to be resilient because a crash in USDT was always something that a lot of people in crypto thought was going to happen. But so far, it's held up pretty well throughout this bear market and still by far the most trusted cryptocurrency in terms of stable coins. You can see it's over 3 times larger than USDC now. It's massive, a massive difference there. And this was not always the case. They were kind of getting closer and closer, but I think Tether has started to edge out or continue to edge out USDC. Now, we also have the weekly asset flows report. I want to cover this and then talk about why I bought Bitcoin here today. Weekly crypto asset flows shows that we actually had another big week of outflows, actually picking up this week. Most coming out of Bitcoin, almost 20 million, 2 million coming out of Ethereum, then some coming out of short Bitcoin too, some going into Litecoin, Solana, XRP, Cardano. So some of the altcoins actually getting a bit of a injection of capital. So for those altcoin investors out there, that's positive. Some money flowing back there. But overall, the market's pretty quiet right now. That's why I actually want to add some. So I've talked about how social sentiment is really low. The amount of people tuning in is really low. I showed recently Google Trends data shows basically Bitcoin and crypto are at 1-year lows, actually some at 3-year lows in terms of search volume. And part of that just there's not much price action. Crypto moves off of liquidity. And right now, liquidity has been fairly low. But in the next year, I do think the Fed's going to start injecting more liquidity into the system. Inflation has continuously come down. The markets are looking pretty good, pricing in a pretty good scenario there that we won't have a hard landing. And I do have a decent amount of capital on the sidelines. Now, I still want cash just in case stuff hits the fan. So this is not a huge buy for me, but it was a sizable buy. It was the most that I bought in probably a few months. I bought I DCA'd recently into Bitcoin, and I just want to continue to do that. And I think this is a time where things are just boring. This is typically a good time to be accumulating. And when I look at the price of Bitcoin at 29,000, I realized that we could fall down 20, 30, 40%. We could break prior lows and fall under 15, but I do have that capital on the sideline, and I want to make sure that I allocate enough so that way I can take advantage during the next bull run. And I always want to be adding. I don't want to be, looking at it for 6 months, just trending sideways, and then keep on saying if it falls 5%, then I'll add a significant amount more. No, I want to make sure that I continue to buy to get over that mental barrier of worrying about the price too much. Right? If we fall down further, I'll continue to add more. I'm going to continue to make income so I can continue buying more in cryptocurrency. But I also want to be making sure that I have enough for the next bull run and I can really take advantage of it because, yeah, we're at $29,000 now. We could fall down, but also I expect in a year or two we're going to be much higher than we are now, and everything's lining up to be really bullish for crypto. Let me know your thoughts on this underneath the video, though. Are you dollar cost averaging now? Are you staying out of the market? Are you just holding? Let me know in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.